This is episode 6, Talking Crazy, with our man A-Plus, Hieroglyphic Souls of Mischief. My name is Tamal, and this is just a monthly show. I got a couple of shows. This is the third Monday, supposed to be the third Monday of every month.
Yes.
Just a candid show with two friends, just talking about mental health, spiritual stuff, and but today, this week we had to push it back a little bit to tonight. So. And just quick overview, this topic, mental health, it's kind of become trendy a little bit lately, which is good because it's not talked about enough. And so we've been excited to try to use our platforms to bring some awareness to it. And maybe you can tell us kind of, also what we're not about, what the show isn't.
Yeah, what we are not is we're not doctors, we're not professionals, and we're not diagnosing people. We're on our own. We're on a path, the same path as everybody else. We don't think we're better than anybody, or we're the authorities on any of these things we're talking about. We're just two brothers just chopping it up about our personal experiences and trying to trade knowledge on whatever we've come across in our lives. And what we're really trying to do is to destigmatize the conversation. Like you said, it's it's trendy to talk. It's trendier to talk about it now than it ever has been before. And that's definitely a positive thing. And we're just deep diving into that, just trying to normalize the conversation and eliminate the stigma behind mental health and how we deal with it in our culture and our society.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And as we always say, excuse us, take what you want and leave the rest. You know what I'm saying? Maybe hopefully in this 1 hour there'll be something that you can get out of it. And we try to, I feel like we get stuff out of it as well. You know what I'm saying? As far as chopping it up about these things and different perspectives and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
So yeah, tonight, man, like I this one really, I've done videos on this on my personal page. This one's really important to me, I guess, because I see people like this all the time, and tonight's topic, it's worry and regret, and
worry and regret,
and they kind of, I've discussed this at length with people and stuff. It's kind of dear to my heart because I know a lot of people, or a few people that are really close to me that really they worry so much about like sometimes the smallest stuff, and it gets them worked up. They get physical problems from this stuff, and it's painful to watch. Or they're regretful of something that happened already, something that they did maybe, or something that could, and it coulda, shoulda, woulda, but they like it drives them, literally nuts. So this was an important one for me because I see these two things kind of eat away at people a lot, and so I wanted to kind of that's where I wanted to go.
All right, yeah, man. Worry and regret. Both are things that are really like neither one are helpful ever.
Real quick, where are you with that? Like just personally, like with either one of these things, you don't strike me as a person that really does either too much, but I could be wrong.
Well, there are things and times I don't really have like regrets, not so much. But there are things that I've worried about, that I've ruminated on, just personal things that may happen. Like, there's been times when I trip over like a wrong done to me, or like bad breakup, or like not accomplishing a certain goal in a certain fashion that I endeavored to. And these are all things that I've been through and I've worried about. I'm at a place in my life now to where it's good. I feel like I'm able to talk about it because I really try not to. And as far as regrets go, I'm not really one that has many regrets about anything, because I really try to think my shit through, and I feel like honest mistakes made are part of a learning process. So to regret them, like I would word it differently just to suit how I feel about the word regret and the whole definition behind it. I would be like, what would I do differently next time? What have I learned from this? And I guess the closest I ever come to regret is if just doing something real stupid and being like, or real whatever, real fucked up, something not positive to the point to where I was like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. Like, but I don't really call that regret. That I call that like, man, like that's some whack ass shit you did. You shouldn't do that
Yeah,
anymore. You know what I'm
my
saying?
regrets. My regrets were often fueled by alcohol. My most regretful moments have been.
Hey, you know what? Since you say that, I have to say that that would be true with myself too. Like, yeah,
I
yeah.
can I mean, between cars or saying something, fights, dumb shit. You know what I mean? So that's.
Yeah. All right. Well, when you add alcohol in there, I guess like a wealth of anything I would call close to a regret all lives in that place because sober me ain't really ain't causing too many waves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, but as far as like regrets, that's whatever. I'm not really one. We can still talk about to self. You know what I'm saying? I try not to stay in a realm of regrets because it feels counterproductive for me. And nothing has ever really come from me like beating myself up about something I did. It just made me feel worse. So I just choose to like extract a lesson out of what it is, so as to not repeat these, as to not get a repeat of these feelings again. You know what I mean?
Right.
But worrying is something I've definitely done, and like ruminating. That's like kind of like just focusing on the same thing over and over again, right?
Yep.
I
That's
believe. I
just
believe.
yeah. No, just staying like really like focused, fixated on that particular thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that in the past, and that shit is mad toxic to do. You know, if you think something through and you do the A to B equals C, and you come up with like a problem, solution, enact the solution, things are better, then that's cool. You know, that much thinking is cool. But like to sit thinking on some shit, worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, that has always been mad toxic for me. It has never ever brought me any good fortune at all, or helped me in any situation ever. Now I'm saying it like I'm a master and I never worry. That's not true. What I am saying though is that worrying has never done anything positive for me at all. It's useless. It's a complete utter waste of life. Now there might be some emotional um release that people get from it, but you can do that without worrying. You know what I mean? Or one can do that without worrying. I'm not trying to criticize how anybody else does anything. I'm just kind of saying that, like, in my experience, any kind of worrying about something. If I've done everything, see, I'm a solution oriented person, right? So if there's a problem, I try to fix that shit. So I'm like, here's a problem. What is the problem? What do we need to do to fix it? What do I need to fix it? Can I actually do it? I can do it. No more problem. I don't even want to hear about it again. The problem's done. You know what I'm saying? That's how I like to deal with shit. So like worrying, it's just like you caught in place, spinning your wheels and not really bringing about any fruitful actions. You just like, especially if you've done all you actually can to affect the situation, and you spend your time worrying instead of waiting it out or letting things happen. I'm just saying, for me, like I try to be allergic to worrying, and again, I'm a work in progress, and it's something that clearly that it's going to take a lifetime to work out to where I'm worry free completely. But yeah, that shit is mad useless, my man.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's not very many good uses for worrying, and so I wanted the way it's kind of been explained to me, the way my mentor kind of explained to me is that with worry, we're living in the future, right? Like we're overly concerned about the future, which A, hasn't happened yet. We don't know what's going to happen. B,
Right.
like we just don't know. So like, and then the thing is when we worry, like, so right now, often sometimes we take it a step further and we create a situation that I had somebody very dear to me just recently do this show. She thought I was going to be upset about something. I never indicated I would ever be upset about something, but she thought I was going to be upset about something. And good friend of mine. And she made it seem like, so then freaked out but then finally when it came out what she was that I'd be upset about, I was like, yo, that never bothered me. I was like, you just conjured this whole thing up and like went through this angst. So the thing is with the worry, you go through the issue as if it actually happens.
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened. And it might
And it
not happen,
hasn't.
but you go through the same pain. Like, oh, you're gonna get hit by a car, whatever. You go through that pain as if it happened, but it didn't. And you
Yep.
you're a wreck. Yo, my homegirl was a wreck. And I'm like, look at you.
Damn.
And I'm like, you're all stressed the fuck out.
The unknown.
And I wasn't even I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. And look, I thought you so that's like that's the big part of it too. So we're overly concerned about the future, and we can't do anything about it. It's not even here yet.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad cycle to be in, and I've been there. It doesn't feel good at all, and it's like you're basically agreeing to put yourself through some unnecessary stress because you can't deal with it. It's a lack of patience and faith in process.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And the uncertainty. Right.
Yeah, the uncertainty. But like you said, it's like it literally hasn't happened yet. And I wish I could remember where I heard this at, but I heard some statistic on some, I don't know if it was a pod or if I read it somewhere, but it was about anxiety. And the topic was anxiety. And they said there was some study that 90-something% of the things that we worry about never actually happen ever. And then they started saying like people who worry this much amount of their life and what it turns out to be in a scope of a 60-year-old person or whatever. And it was this overwhelming amount of time just completely wasted battering yourself down with stress, like literally beating your body down with stress, beating your mind down, your emotions with stress about things that haven't happened yet and ultimately never do happen. And it was just a staggering percentage. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was so much to the point that it affected me. I was like, how you pick up little things along the way that kind of strengthen your resolve in the area you're trying to work on. It was that kind of statistic. I was like, yo, man, I can't believe. I mean, literally, we give ourselves strokes and heart attacks and high blood pressure and anxiety and panic attacks and I'm saying this not in a judgmental way. That's just how insidious it is when you're trapped in that kind of cycle, because it really has physical ramifications. It really sucks. I always say this. It's like it takes life away from us. It really is. These bodies aren't gonna last forever, and when we do that to them, we really edge off a little bit of it all the time. And again, I have to keep saying this. I have done this, and so I'm not like trying to be like, yo, you shouldn't do that because if you do, you're gonna die faster. Like, it's nothing like that. I'm talking to myself as much as I'm saying it. It's like it's one of the things that keeps it forefront in my mind not to be like this because of how ridiculous it is, and ultimately self-harmful. You know what I'm saying? It's self-harmful behavior that is completely self-imposed, like 100%. And there's a million reasons why we get caught in these traps, and everybody's different, and it's all circumstantial and situational. But it is very insidious once we get in those kind of cycles of just doubt and ruminating and like wondering what if, like emotional patience and literal patience is really good in these areas. As an Aries who's like going to be working on patience for my whole entire life, if you believe any of that stuff, it's certainly something I take seriously. You know what I mean? Right. Trying not to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I mean, you shared it a couple of times. I mean, we're certainly this is something that we all deal with. I mean, like I don't deal with it as much, but it was a major issue. I mean, I think everybody's programmed to worry a little bit. I mean, and then all of it, a lot of us weren't raised. Our parents did the best they could, but they didn't give us. We didn't have a lot of tools that that we may have as adults to kind of deal with a lot of this stuff. I think it's been explained to me one time that a big part of worry too is control, like the lack of we want to control stuff, like not, and it sounds bad, but it's like we want like, and so it's a security type thing, right? And so
Yes,
when
stability. Yeah.
with the uncertainty of something happening in the future, oh, I'm gonna meet so and so. I get nervous at like meeting like people sometimes and stuff. So like that's where I'll get worked up. Like, oh, I gotta be in this situation, like all these people that like I'm not gonna know, like I'm like, you know. So there's certain things like that. But again, one, it's usually never as bad as I built it up in
Ever.
my mind.
It never is, because clearly, if we're going through it, that means we have survived every single one that happened and are doing pretty all right. Yeah. So yeah, like I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
No, it's never as bad as I make it out to be, right? Like it's rare, and so I mean I think for me, it's about the control though, like not knowing what the situation like. I like knowing what's going on at all times. Like when I go somewhere, like when I travel anywhere I travel, I've already read about like the city, like what it's about, what's going on, like just the history of it, everything, like where the fucked up parts are, like everything. Like so I like knowing shit. So when I don't know stuff, then that's a problem for me. Like when I uncertainty. So I've had to wrestle with that, but you know what I mean? So it's not like, yeah, we're not perfect with this thing, but it's much more freeing, if you will, when I'm not stuck in that space of like, again, bringing up some angst about something that hasn't occurred, and it probably will be a fraction, won't even be nearly as bad as what we think it might have been. So
yeah, I mean, like 100%. I agree 100%. We literally have it never is. It's never as bad as it seems ever, and we don't seem to like fully try to remember that when we're in that moment. Like that moment doesn't really allow for rationale on
that's the trick. That's
the
trick, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the trick with all things too. It's the same thing with like smoking a cigarette, taking anything you don't want to do that you just do anyway. There's a whole little thing that happens that just because we wave it off doesn't mean it doesn't happen. The result is we did the motherfucking thing we was trying not to.
Right.
So something happens there, right? And yeah, we all do it to ourselves in some way or another. The things that we end up succumbing to doing that when we don't want to. It's a trip, man. It really is 100% all in our head, and that's why, like you said, worry and regret, the two things. One is worrying about something that has happened that cannot be changed, and one is worrying about some shit that hasn't even happened yet at all. So, like,
right.
both of these things are like real useless uses of energy. Like I mean,
completely useless. Completely. Yeah. Like there's no. Let's try to real quick. I'm gonna cut you off. Let's try to think of. Is there a positive time, a productive time to worry, or productive time to I can maybe think of something for regret, but I wouldn't even call it regret. But like,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Is there a productive time? Is there ever a productive time to worry about something?
I think self-awareness. A lot of things that are good fall in that bracket, and all the positive things. Okay, I think worrying has a built-in negative connotation. It's like worrying is like, oh, like I don't know the exact definition, but it's definitely is linked with not feeling good about the shit. There's a way to be aware and acknowledge the danger or the uncertainty in your situation without letting it completely overcome you to the point where you like, ooh, hoopity-hoo, I don't know what to do type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, just like how you said with regret, I wouldn't call it worry either at that point. I would call it just being acutely aware of my situation and realistic about the prognosis. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what I mean? It's right. Like, God, this ain't a good look right now. He got a gun. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Bad
yeah,
example.
That's a difference. But
yeah.
That's a difference, right? With the awareness, so you can have a level of awareness to where it doesn't paralyze us, though, right? Like to where we're not completely, like you said, just like you know what I mean? Yeah. And we're all in our head and just the whole dance, right? We know the dance that goes on in the head. And all the conjuring up and everything that goes with us being us, like all that shit.
flawed.
So,
You know what
so
I'm
I
saying?
think,
Flawed.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't think there's ever really a positive time to worry. I mean, like, because it's still not going to do anything. You still have to get yourself out of that situation or
Yeah,
whatever it is anyway.
and you compromise at this point by dealing with it that way. You still got to get out of it, and now you don't got your wits all together, so you're bound to make a worse mistake. I mean, look, think about it. Like as human beings, like we go through rigorous training to get this out of us. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go to the my sister was in the Air Force. She was telling me about boot camp and all of that shit. They put you through shit to remove that worry from you. I mean, it's kind of just it's innately in us just from the fear instinct thing that comes from being part animal and evolving or whatever. I mean, we literally have to go put ourselves through things actively to get rid of that natural fear and worry. A lot of times it's experience, right? Once you experience something a few times, you're
Right.
not so worried.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
with real real high pressure situations, motherfuckers get trained as specialists to not be worry blobs when the moments come down. You know what I'm saying?
They pay
And
big money. Yeah, they pay big money to teach people that shit.
yeah. And some people are just, I mean, we're all different. Some people are just born scarier than others. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason. Some people
Right.
born a little, but we all have that in us somehow.
My spiritual teacher used to say, like, I thought this was an interesting perspective. He would say, I don't have problems, I have obstacles or challenges. He would say,
I like that.
Just saying, like, yeah, things happen, but I don't look at So it's just an interesting way to look at it. Like, and I think for those of us that are like innately like problem solvers, I mean that's a good way to. I mean I like looking at things that way because it's like, but sometimes again, for me anyway, as an aside, the problem solving thing also is control too, though. On some subtle shit, like sometimes like where it's like I want to fix everything, and sometimes can't be fixed.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Because like with me on the problem solving side, is like I don't like that feeling of what's going on, right? Like what's happening. Shit is like I'm not seeing everything coming. Like you know what I'm saying? I don't like that feeling, so I try to do all of the things to reduce that as much as possible. Like you said earlier, being as learned about the situation and informed about any situation as you can. That doesn't mean you're gonna know everything, but I figure like it's like when I walk in somewhere, I always like to know all the exits. You know what I'm saying? It's like if this shit burn the fuck down, I got a pass. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like hardwired to want to have like some kind of efficiency in whatever situation, or at least my best shot statistically to survive. to survive. Nothing's gonna be perfect, but like I like to have that better shot of surviving that situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Right.
But then again, that to me, that's transforming what would be worry into some kind of positive action. Like instead of like being scared all the damn time, I'm trying to figure out some shit so I can go do things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And figure out situations. And so again, worrying has never. Worrying has never ever helped me. Not ever once. There's better ways. So there's different ways to describe the emotions I have that are kind of like positive in that area. Like, for instance, like when you're missing somebody, you know what I'm saying? Or like when your kid goes out or something and you want them to be, you want them to have their best mind on wherever they're going. Like if you sit around and worry and bug the shit out of them about every damn thing, then that's not as prolific as just making sure they have the best information they can and you just let them have faith that you left them with that, But I'll be on a tangent. I'm just saying I can't think of a time when I don't like worrying. So when I think of the times of all the times I've worried about anything, I've never ever once had any positive thing happen from just worrying.
I get
about
physically sick, yo. Like my stomach starts to hurt and shit. My appetite gets all fucked up and everything. Like when I worry too much, like if I go down that road, I get sick.
I don't like that feeling. I think
like,
to be honest with you, I think that might be linked into like, the feeling that I get from smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember as a an earlier smoker, my anxiety was mad high before. I've had anxiety my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So, when I was a kid, or not a kid, when I was a teenager and I first smoked some weed, I instantly noticed my anxiety just kind of just was like, kind of just left, and the situation was still the same, but my anxiety didn't feel the same.
Right.
It didn't feel all like, and I was like, oh, okay, this helps with that. You know, like
Yeah.
it's synonymous with like, listen, I see what's going down, but I'm chill about it. I'm going to assess this and see what's the proper course of action. That's that links all the way back to like not liking the actual physical feeling of worrying. It like, you know, you get ulcers from that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like ulcers, hair fall out, strokes, heart attacks. All of these things is caused by worrying. Physical things that are caused by something that happens in our brain, and the physical ramifications of it is like illness on our body, self-imposed. It's really crazy. You know, it's really crazy how powerful we are. You know what I mean? As human beings, as sentient beings.
No, you're right, and I think, yeah, to concur, I fully agree with you. I don't see a really positive thing ever coming out of this, as far as worrying goes. And at the end, when we wrap this up, I want to get into some solutions and stuff too. Regret. So we say worry is kind of living in the future, worried about the future. Regret, you're living in the past. Now shit's already happened. What's done is done, and you all fucked up about it. We're all fucked up about it, and going through all these other scenarios, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Yo, it's done,
Yeah,
B. What you gonna do now? Like now,
we
you
all
probably
go.
got a situation to deal with. Right now, we probably have something that we gotta like look at. But now, if we're still worried about what the shit that already happened, then you know,
Yeah,
like. And I want to talk at some point. We can do a build on grieving, the grieving process, and because you know you do have to actually do that. But
yeah.
but
That,
but in
that
terms,
that's how to not regret.
right. But in
You know,
terms of just like
grieve.
saying, "Oh, I coulda, shoulda, woulda," like replaying the situation out over and over again, yo, it that's another useless, completely useless emotion in terms of, because it's not only is it not going to happen. I mean, it's in the books, yo.
It's done. I mean, you know, that kind of gives insight into how deep trauma can be. You know, how like when things happen to people, it's like that shit has been over, but it's still bothering you and still affecting you in a tremendous way. And yeah, it goes to show how deep trauma can be. You know, like yeah, it's a trip. You know, like worrying. I mean, regret. I mean, like you said, the shit has happened already. There's nothing you can do to turn the clock back, but for some reason you're still worried about it. You
It's
know?
just as paralyzing, right? Like now, because now you're just again in one situation, the worry, we're playing out a situation and going through it as if it happened, but it hasn't. And this one, now we're just pressing play over and over and over again and
Act
reliving
like
that same pain.
yeah, making ourselves relive it over and over again.
But then sometimes that takes us to a corollary type thing, emotion resentment, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like
That's a resentment factory, my friend. That's where they are. That's where they are built. You know, resentments come from things that we can't get past. You know, and we sit and ruminate on them and run them over and over and over and again in our head. And you know, we're powerful spirits with powerful minds in these bodies. And when we start going over things over and over in our head, like things mutate, all the what ifs that happen, like just the infiniteness of the world and your brain being a playground for what if, you know, that's a dangerous place to be mentally. You know,
especially solo.
yes, yeah. I mean, speaking from experience, like this is where all the bad shit in my life happens. It has happened. You know, like a large percent of it has just been happening. It happened in my head, tripping off some shit that either hadn't happened or already did. You know what I'm saying? Again, it always circles back to the point that it's a incredibly useless waste of life, and not just useless, but also toxic and harmful, because it harms your relationships, right? It harms your your mental health, like your self esteem. It harms if you're a parent. You pass that bullshit to your children. Yeah, I mean, and the list goes on, man.
Yeah, yeah, that regret is a killer too, yo. They both are, right? They both are. And you made a good distinction though. You said, okay, it's not just useless, but toxic and harmful. So there's a difference. Something's
Yeah,
like weeds are useless, but like
yeah,
poison ivy is toxic and harmful. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
there's different categories. So that's a good point, man. It's like, yeah, these emotions is not only are they useless, they actually cause us harm, like physical and mental pain. And it's us.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, check it out. Somebody in the comments was like, "Y'all talking about porn?" I don't know. Was they joking or serious? No. Either way, the question is no. The answer is no. We're talking about worry and regret.
How I wonder how that came to that how that came
I,
from.
I don't know, but I don't want to assume that there wasn't a serious question. Although it sounded like it could have just been a joke. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Well, I just
Yeah,
saw
nah.
that as you. I just
We're
saw
not
that
talking
as
about
you.
porn. We're not talking about porn, my man. Like that's not what this. It's not what. It's not what we do.
Not sure how you like gathered that, but anyway, uh, we'll see. So
Yeah,
yeah,
regret and worry. Although I guess to tie lines to what he's saying, like some may say that you have like regret after watching porn, and or like you said earlier, like when you get mad drunk and do some shit you regret with some chick or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Or well, you didn't say that.
yeah, I didn't say that. I mean, I've been there, but I didn't say that.
Yeah, nah.
But anyway, yeah. So
Now, hey, so the person just clarified. They said that they just popped in and they caught in on the end. So there was like, I guess porn might have fit from the perspective where they popped in at. Pause.
I guess, yeah,
Anyway, you were saying, brother.
yeah. I don't know. We took a detour for a second, which is all right. It's more than all right. But yeah, this is a good point though. Not just being useless, but just harmful. And
Yeah,
that's the thing too. Like we're harming ourselves, and
yeah,
in both of these, that's the thing. In both of these situations, we're harming ourselves. Nobody, and more often than not, it's usually us harming ourselves too. So I mean, that's the interesting thing here too, yo. It's like both cases, it's us and on us. You know what I'm saying? So it's So what I wanted to get into was maybe some solutions, some things as far as like, because we're talking right, and we both know that we're not completely scrubbed of these two issues, but we don't want to be known like, oh, we've got this kick. This shit is hard as hell. Like
yeah.
we
Just
we
for anybody
deal with this every
listening,
day.
yeah, for anybody listening, we're not listen, you shouldn't do none of this shit, and if you do, this is what you do. Like, yeah. Anyway, what you said.
Yeah. So no, but I wanted to just think about like some things that we can kind of do in the moment to maybe there's some tactics and things that I do personally to help me with the worry. So like one such thing is like I try to physically like visualize like the whole situation happening, and then when I come to the conclusion, I'm like, it's probably gonna be like this, and whatever it is, and usually it turns out that way. So that's one thing that helps me, like if I'm ahead of time, like worried about something or some situation that's gonna come up, like I'll really try to sit down and say, okay, what is really going to happen? Like what's gonna happen? And then
Yeah,
and it's as my one of the former therapists used to say, play out the tape. Play out the tape. Let's go to the end. Don't stop at the part where you're all fucked up and worried. Go to the end. Oh, the end's usually okay. All right.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, on that exact note, I can't remember where I heard this. I read it somewhere or heard it somewhere. But as far as like the regret aspect, it's like, what's the saying? Everything happened exactly how it was supposed to happen because and couldn't have gone any other way because it happened this way. You know what I'm saying? And if you survived it, then why should you really be worrying? Like, I guess it's the same thing you said. It's like we survived every thing that we've ever worried that deeply about. Anytime we've ever worried in the past, let's just take me and you for an example just here. Anytime you've worried in your life or anytime I've worried in my life, that shit did not kill us. the proof of that is the fact that I'm fucking talking to you. You know, we're talking to each other. So to bring that into a moment of you know, fear or anxiety or worry or whatever it may be, like I always ask myself, and I heard this from a therapist too, therapist as well. They're like, are you okay right now? Or are you safe right now? Are you threatened or in danger right now by what you're thinking about? You know what I'm saying? And if you could stop yourself and answer that and ask yourself realistically and be like, nah, actually, I'm just tripping in my head. I'm not in any real danger. I'm just thinking it all up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's many other ways that have been recommended, like meditating. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Breathing exercises. You know, people say do your usab or your ohms and shit. Those center oneself. You know, these are the same things that help with all things, but we're talking specifically about regret and worry. And these are things that I've tried and people have recommended to me over the years. All of these things actually work. The hard part is making these things a routine just as much as we've allowed the habit of worry to come into our way of maneuvering. You know, we have to like rebuild, restructure, build new habits, like restructure, replace those old habits with the new habits.
Right, right.
And that comes with, like, you know, self-awareness, catching yourself doing the bullshit. And it takes practice. And, you know, for some people it takes therapy. For some people it takes medication. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I stopped drinking. You know what I mean? Just for me personally, because I get highly emotional. So, you know, I get mad emotional and want to press the issue right then. Like, not violently or nothing, but I'm like, nah, we gonna talk about this shit. Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so for me, being able to cool off of that, although I can still get there, man, sober, don't get me wrong. That's been a tactic that I've been able to use on myself. I guess it's different with everybody and what level of anxiety or worry or whatever they come to the table with. But definitely the thing to not do is feed that shit. Like, you know, you could stack unknown worry on top of unknown worry until you like thinking about, like, you know, just things that can't be true. You ever like lost something in your house? Like, I remember one time we lost a blunt in my house. This is mad years ago. And we know we all just had it, and we was all mad broke, and we only had that blunt, right? And we couldn't understand what happened to it. I'm gonna tell the whole story though. So we started looking around where we was at. We hadn't left my apartment at that time. And so after a while, it was like four of us. I'm not going to say who was there. And it wasn't like like the four souls or nothing. But we were like, what the fuck could have happened? How could it just disappear? We're perplexed, start thinking mystical shit. We started looking in the places that we didn't even go in the house. Like, maybe it went maybe it's in the kitchen or in the bathroom. Just, we know for a fact that shit ain't there because nobody even went there. All this shit in our head, just, as it turned out, the shit had fell down and fell right in the side of somebody's boot. So it was like the little open part of like a Timberland on the top. The blunt was just sitting there. We found it like an hour later. And it was like, oh my God. But the trip is how our brains were going to all of these places that couldn't be possible, trying to find where this shit could have been. Motherfuckers was looking in the kitchen and in my bedroom and in the bathroom, and we all just sitting in the living room at this table. The blunt could have never been anywhere.
Right,
But I use that example to be like, that's, if we just keep feeding ourselves like more to the unknown that hasn't happened yet, or that already happened a certain way, like, if we feed our brain, you know, we're creative. Our minds are creative. We'll come up with some new shit that ain't true at all.
Oh,
You
of
know,
course.
that has no truth to it at all.
Nobody can lie to us like we can. I mean, nobody. Like, no, there's nobody that can do that. You know, we're the best at lying to ourselves. I mean, we'll convince ourselves of anything and rationalize that shit all day long. So,
man, I mean,
come on, that's a straight up joke. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that as far as regret goes, that I was thinking about in terms of, like, I try to live with no regrets. Meaning, yeah, I may, there's things I probably would do differently, but I try to live with and do things in such a way where I'm not like looking foolish, you know what I'm saying, or just making an ass out of myself. And again, usually it was under the influence of alcohol, but like I think if we think a lot of times before acting, which many of us don't, the the right thing to do is really right in our face. What we choose to do after that is a different story. But like we know, I mean, there's even a saying. I think they talk about it in like addict communities too, where it's like there's a moment like right before you're about to drink or take drugs or something, of clarity where like you can still back the fuck out at the very end, and you
Yeah.
can. But then you go, nah, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I mean, I think if we start thinking a little bit more before we act, you know what I'm saying, then we'll be in a better place, you know?
Absolutely, man. And that's one thing about the society we live in is like impulse control isn't really taught. It isn't pushed. It isn't like championed. It's like quite the opposite. Everybody's like, just do whatever you want, do what you feel. You know what I'm saying? The 100% don't think shit, do what you feel way of thinking is propagated in our society in our culture. You know, so although there are good parts about this being free and you know being impulsive, there also equally are, but there's times when that's not the thing to do, like when actually and unfortunately, you know, there's going to be a lot less stopping and thinking about what we're doing if the wave and the trend is like, don't think about shit, just do it, and then hence the world we live in, and you know, and that shit comes from the top. I mean, we're literally not taught any structured way of we're not taught any impulse control, you know, and I guess that's supposed to happen in the household, but the people in the household ain't taught no impulse control either. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
In society, I mean, a capitalist society where it really wants you to be a consumer as much as possible is 100% built on impulse spending and buying. You know what I'm saying? So like it's hard to tell people to have impulse control and then constantly pushing down their throat, get this, do this, do this, do this, do this, on impulse, you know, the whole propaganda machine. So it's a tricky place. You know?
Yeah, I got a funny story for you. Like when I was buying my first house, it was actually it was a condo, and it was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and the cost of living there is really low. So this was in 2007, something like that. So it's for like 148, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, brand new. Like this, like you could still smell the paint because it was just finished, right? So we were approved for that shit, and we had really good credit. So the dude's like, "Oh, you're looking at this property here." He said, "But you're approved for." He said, "Congratulations, you're approved for 300,000." We were like, "Oh, that's cool. We want this." You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, his head was like glitching and shit. It was like he was like, "But you're approved for 300,000." We were like, "Yeah, but we don't want that. We don't need that. We like, you know what I'm saying?" And this dude could not understand how we wouldn't just get a way bigger house and shit and go into way more debt just on the strength of just big. I'm like, yo, we good. Our mortgage was $480 a month, yo. So
damn.
So
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
he didn't understand why. Like, hey man, go big or go home. Like, you're not gonna take this 300.
Like, no, we don't want that shit. Like, don't bury us. There's a reason why. Like, when you go to when for freshmen, like their first week on campus at colleges, all the credit card companies are there and fucking signing them up. Like,
oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Like, in order you have to incur debt. Can you hear me still?
You say you have to incur debt to what?
For your credit to go up, you have to get more debt.
What a fucked up equation that is.
It's real. It's real, man.
No, I know.
It's you gotta like really like incur more debt. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole nother. This ain't an economics.
But so then, but again, the bottom line is think before acting.
Yeah.
Right. So then you can live without regrets. So that's the bottom line. So if you think before acting, you can make that decision and then be okay with it after. You know what I'm saying? And be completely like, yo, I'm good with this. Like once you make the decision, you know, live with it.
Yeah.
So I you know, that's the thing. I mean, like there's things. Again, I was certainly things I would do differently, but I try not to be like, damn. I mean, there are things that regret. I mean, going back. I mean, I've done some foul shit. I mean, but I don't. But that's the therapy part where I have to, have to carry that and whatever it is and work through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
And
it can't, yeah. You can't hold on to that forever. Well, if you choose to hold on for that forever, it becomes your own weight. You
right,
know,
you can't like let it
yeah,
consume you. You gotta let some. I mean, that's why I put on here on the notes. At the I got a daughter, so she grew up listening to Frozen, and watching Frozen and the Let It Go shit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So that's what I be thinking about, man. Like,
yeah. Nah, 100% agree. I've been going through a lot of that, like personally, like the last like however many years, I want to say like 5 or 6 years, just letting a lot of shit go. You know what I'm saying? And that shit feels better. You know what I mean? Feels better letting shit go. Um, and it doesn't necessarily need any kind of resolution or any kind of consolation or anything, because that's kind of like what we're kind of looking for when we're holding on to situations, or we need an explanation or can't let shit go. A lot of times there's like no closure on it, or there's been no resolve. But the one thing about letting go is that the fact that it's over and you survived, it is a resolve. That shit didn't kill you, so like you're actually all right. This is what I tell myself anyway. Yeah,
what,
pretty
yo,
pretty.
you just said okay, and I'm glad you brought this up because we've been bouncing around. You were like, this is what I tell myself anyway, and so like people, I don't know. I'm gonna say this, like, I mean, I think most of us like talk to ourselves. Like, you gotta have some. I mean, for me, like, I have conversations with myself, like, almost like I'm a boxer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nigga, give me some water and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
cut man and everything. Like, come on, like, I don't know. That works for me. Maybe I'm
man, nah,
like,
bro,
like,
I legit talk to myself. Like I'll be like, like when I'll be by myself walking around like, you got that, you got that. Oh man, don't even trip. Like, but I'm saying, remember what I said earlier? When we were talking about creating new habits and replacing the old ones. That's like I'm using positive self talk. I'm talking and like I start having thoughts I don't want. I talk that shit out. Like, nah, fuck that shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been mad. Like, when you get some kind of negative self talk, and I'm not talking. I mean, we all have that shit, whether we know it or not. Like our society propagates that shit. We say negative, negative shit as a regular all the time, not knowing that it's really bad energy. But yeah, after doing that over and over and over again, it becomes a habit just to do it. And in a society where that shit is normal, it becomes the norm just to do it. So for me to get it out myself, when I'm walking, man, I will sit fucking talk. Like, I'll say it to myself. I'll have some fucked up thought like, oh man, that probably ain't gonna be like, wait, man, shut that shit up, bro, man. You don't even know yet. Shit ain't even happened. And I will say that shit till I may have thought the original thought. I will say the response out loud to myself, just in the whole essence of overriding that bullshit. Like, if that shit is going on in my head, I'm gonna literally say to myself, oh, you tripping, you 100% tripping, bro. That, and I find it to be effective. Like, sometimes I'll be walking through a room, like, like somebody else who around and be like, you say something? Oh, no. I'm sorry. Talking to myself, you
whatever
know what
it
I'm saying?
takes, man. You
Just
know what I'm saying?
imagine how many times that we've like just let ourselves say bullshit that has become, and then that bullshit has become just a regular pattern of thought that we have, and it's complete other bullshit. But we walking around like that's just the golden rule. So, in order to remove those kinds of bad mind habits, sometimes I just talk that shit out. But you're like, nah, that's bullshit. I'll say that. I'll literally say it out loud. Like, nah, that's some bullshit, bro. Uh,
No,
keep it clean, pimpin'. Keep it clean.
yo, whatever it takes, man. I mean, like, we allow ourselves. I look at it like this: we allow ourselves to talk ourselves into some bullshit. We gotta talk ourselves off. I mean, like, we're our own worst enemy or our own best friend. Like
Mm,
us, man. In the end, like, it's Adam, like Dolo out on the island. It's me.
absolutely,
It's us, fam. Like, that's it. And so we gotta,
absolutely.
like, that's why we gotta be. This is it. We carry this around everywhere we go. You can't just cut this shit off. Like, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
man.
So
We talked about this before, man. It's like when you're looking at the outside in the world to deal with shit, that's the wrong way of looking at the shit. The answer is always how, like, you taught in we taught you taught in the steps, like, you can't control people, places, or things. The only thing you can control Is how you react to things and what the fuck you do. So taking any time to be anything but like that, it's just a waste. It's like looking outside for the world to change is not the answer. Like how looking inward, like how am I gonna react to whatever is presented, and am I on top of everything inside myself? That's what really all the answers are in my experience. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, it does not change how anybody does anything, but but my attitude about how I react to any of it, and it's completely internal. It's a completely one-on-one personal interaction. It's like I'm gonna trip off that or I'm not, regardless of whatever anybody else does. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't control none of that shit, but I can control whether I'm gonna trip off that bullshit or not.
Always.
You know?
Always.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
we talked about that. Like both. Yeah, we both
Yeah,
said that.
There's a saying. I think I heard it. It was like, we gotta clean up our side of the street first. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
Before you worry about some. You know what I'm saying? So. It's always here. But again, that's a scary thing sometimes, man. I mean, let's keep it 100. I mean, it's not always fun to like.
It's never fun. That's the whole thing. This whole facade that like the shit we need to do ain't supposed to be difficult. You know, that's that instant self bullshit. That's like the biggest facade of it all. There's nowhere has it ever like our expectation that shit is supposed to be smooth. Is a bullshit expectation. Once I got over that shit, like I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna make my cool ass moments in the midst of everything else that's coming. Like that's the concept of vacation. You know what I'm saying?
You got it right because it's supposed to be fucked up, and it is.
Adversity is how we grow. Exactly. We be automatons without it. And that's not even being judgmental. This is shit that, like, you know, I tell myself when I find myself tripping off shit, or I find myself ruminating on some bullshit, or I find myself like whatever, worrying or regretting anything. I'm like, yo, bro, come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's and then it's about us, man. And we realize it's like it's crazy. On one hand, we don't control anything, but on the other hand, what we do control us is still huge. So it's like we can't control all the external things.
It's everything. Have you ever noticed like the people who really don't trip at all, like say like a Buddhist, like they're like all like they completely have honed in on just being pleasant at all times. So whatever the fuck is going on around, they just smiling. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, I see you. You know what I'm saying? It's all about self. Like that, it doesn't change that idiot they looking at is still doing that bullshit. Whatever they're doing, they could another person would be like me, would be like, "Oh shit, you see that shit? That's crazy. What the hell? Why they doing that?" You know, as opposed to like somebody just being like, "Hey, you know, it is what you know." I don't want to say it is what it is because that kind of makes it blasé.
You just you can acknowledge it and move on. Like that's the thing. Like there's a difference. Like they're still acknowledging that it happened. Oh, okay. You know, but they moved on where somebody else. Did you see it? And so what she said and what she did, and you pop in my gum and the neck, so whatever, you know what I'm saying? We wilding, but
yeah. Now, I mean, you know, with me personally, all of my instances, like in dealing with these kind of situations, have all been things that are close to home. You know what I'm saying? Have all been like, you know, like some family shit or some friend shit. Other than that, who really gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? I don't even know you that well. Like, you know, like, or that's a stranger or whatever. So I guess we all are susceptible to these things when it comes to things that hit closer to home. Like as far as like the topic of today's show, which is worries or regret about things. They always happen close to home. The thing, you know, who worries about shit that they don't give a fuck about? You know what I'm saying? Who regrets something that like is you know, like I don't regret that shit. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
Right,
so I mean, so us as human beings, we're all in our own way situationally exposed to having regrets and worries. See, so it's again, it goes back to our intro. We're not masters or doctors in any of this shit. We are flawed in talking about the shit, just like everybody. Flawed like everybody else, except we're trying to talk about it.
Oh yeah, just trying to talk, man. At least we're just trying to be better, man. Like be better than yesterday. I was asked, maybe I flipped out on somebody at in the whip yesterday, but maybe today I didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Just trying to just be incrementally better. Sometimes I might go back for a second, stutter steps, stack it aside,
and that's okay.
Right.
And that's
Take a
okay.
wrong turn. Oops. Oh man, we went down a dead end. Fuck this. We gotta circle back. You know what I'm saying? So
ain't nothing wrong with that. Adversity is how we grow. Show me
right.
a perfect motherfucker, and you won't.
Stop.
I put the whole house on it.
No, we
You
not. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll take that back. I mean, definitely. So
Word.
real quick, we're gonna before we get on out of here, I got another show coming up right after this. But I did write down family.
Mm-hmm.
As far as it's another topic, grieving too as another topic too. So couple things. So real quick, we do this the third Monday, typically the third Monday of every month on the Carrying the Culture page. Instagram just messing with copyrights and all kinds of stuff.
For anyone listening, we do this show typically on the third Monday of every month.
Yep.
We pushed it to Wednesday this month because my man was healing up. But catch us every third Monday right here, Talkin Crazy.
And then we also we get this up on our respective YouTube channels. So and I wanted COVID kind of knocked me out, but we want to have that conversation about we want to really push this because this is very important for us. It's not about the numbers on here or anything like that. It's about the message. We appreciate everybody being on here and rocking with us and stuff. But it's bigger than that. We're gonna get this on our YouTube channels and get this out because we need to keep talking about this type of thing, So
absolutely, man, and I enjoy doing it. It's I think everything has to do with mental health. I think the state of our society and our culture provides us the need to really dig deeper into our collective mental health. So talking about it in all of its forms and all of its aspects, I think every little thing in our life has to do with mental health. Not just when somebody is like on the edge or on the ledge or in an acute situation. I think every single decision we make has to do with mental health. And if we want to get better as a culture and as a people and as a society, we should focus on every aspect of mental health.
Yeah. The good stuff. Like, what are we doing? What are the positive things we're doing, right? Like, not even, it's like the positive shit, not just, so it's all of it. Yeah, it's all of it. Everything is mental health, man. And I'm glad we're having these conversations and discussions. We're going to get these out there. And,
yes, sir.
What I'm saying? And I will tag you when we get the clip up and stuff like that. We're going to try to get it out a little faster this time. Back.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, brother. I'm glad you done healed up. Bless your health and bless you and the fam.
Nah, you as well, man. It was good talking to you as always. I always look forward to these. They're like a big energy boost for me. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you, family, for real. Like these are like it's bigger than the music. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's about some real world shit. So I appreciate being able to build with you on that level. You know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate you as well, my brother, and always talking crazy. Till next time, my friend.
Yes, sir. Talking crazy. So we'll be back at it soon for episode 7. Salute, y'all. Be good.
Salute. Bless up.
All right, fam.